Hi folks, it's John, Johnny, Jim Bob Shabadoo. Need to get some coffee real quick. It's a late night here at the bike shop. Cheers. Anyway, coffee crystals and water. Let's talk about moving your ass. Moving your ass has been a dream of cyclists since the dawn of time. Now what I have here is 3 different generations of devices which are designed to move that ass. Switching positions on a bicycle is advantageous. Whether you do it permanently, you move it a little bit back or a little bit forward for fit, or occasionally you want to do it during a competition. There's uphills, there's downhills, there's flats, and each condition might have a different applicable saddle height, saddle fore and aft position, and angle. So, this is a quick video, just starting right off the top. The oldest one I could find was this bad boy here. Now, it's the horrendous BMX style seat post guts on what looks sort of like adjustable track stem, but, and I can't read that. I think it says father. Maybe the rapper Father designed this seat post. Anyway, with this fella here, you could go fore and aft and then lock your saddle down. All in all, looks pretty stout. I'd trust my butt to this, but this is ancient. Chrome's flaking off. I don't think it's pre-war, but 50s would be my guess, my hideously uneducated guess. Now, everybody remembers the height right? I had one of these on my old mountain bike. The basic premise was you had this spring would bolt on to your seat post clamp, and then once again up top here to your seat post. You would use a flex hone or something like that to really get the inside of your seat post smooth, or at least if you wanted this thing to work, that's what you would do. And you would have a quick release seat post clamp. Now, what you would do is, if you were about to just shred it on some crazy downhill, you'd want a lower saddle position. You'd want to be right back over the back wheel. And so you'd simply open your quick release lever, sit, and it would compress all the way down. When you got to the bottom of your nasty bumpy stuff, you would open the quick release, and, in theory, the seat would just slide back up to the position you had set it in. Mine never worked quite right. I mean, I was a kid, so I don't know. Maybe a professional bike mechanic could have gotten it to work, but yeah. It's strange. We always have 1 or 2 height rights around the shop, and I looked and looked, and I just couldn't find one tonight. So, anyway. This is a beast. The seat shifter. This was the thing that caught my eye initially. And actually, it's not a seat post, but I was reading an article earlier about an indexed stem shifter, which works in the exact same principle as this. So keep that in mind while I play with this guy. You've got a chintzy, cheap, flathead bolt BMX lever that goes on a lovely color-matched piece of white housing to this little port here. When you squeeze this, your seat post cradle moves forward or backward. And all this is doing is inside of there's a pin which goes up and down into holes in the bottom of this sliding member here. I don't think this was used for mountain biking. If memory serves, this was used for triathletes, time trial, things of that nature. You were able to really get over the front of the cranks much further than you would have just by getting on the nose of the saddle. It's enormous. It looks like a futuristic handgun. And it's heavy as hell. So, triathlons are sort of like, I don't know, they're like the place where ideas go to die. I mean, no offense, but like any culture where you half masticate power bars and then stick them to your top tube for later use is a culture that is willing to experiment, let's just say. Moving on. Nowadays, if you're a mountain biker, worth your salt, you've got a dropper post. Now, it's really nice to see these reaching maturity. You've got mechanical dropper posts. You've got hydraulic dropper posts. The basic premise of this is there's some sort of catch inside. They do it various different ways. Sometimes it's holes in a pin. Sometimes it's cable actuated. Sometimes it's hydraulic. There's different ways to skin a cat. Basic premise is exactly the same as this lovely fella. It is advantageous when mountain biking to be lower or higher depending on the terrain. You know, it just goes to show you, and we'll be touching on this over and over and over again in this series. There's really not much new in the cycling world. I mean, anything that's highfalutin, bleeding edge, cool stuff right now, somebody thought of it 100 years ago, 50 years ago. And what we see time and time again is that because you're the engine in cycling, you know, weight is a huge issue. Durability is a huge issue. So, material science needs to move the requisite amount forward in order for the twinkle in some engineer's eye to actually function properly. So, move your ass. Many different ways to do it. I'll do a future video on suspension systems not related to the wheels. So, suspension stems, suspension handlebars even. Yes, there were suspension handlebars. As well as suspension seat posts of every stripe. So, signing off for the night. Sleep well. Yeah. And really, I should be doing a better job on these videos. Like, it's embarrassing that in this bike shop we don't have a height right sitting around. Anywho, good night.